Hello guys and welcome to another livestream news review video, and this time it's going to be for the A Duo of Sun and Moon Sword Oratoria event and the units. This video is also going to be a unit review at the same time for the new 4 units along with all of their skills, and also my thoughts and opinions on whether or not they're going to be used or what is needed for them to be useful. And there's also, we'll also show off the new Harpy unit that's coming out after the anime episode. The 5th anime episode comes out at the end of the week, so you can look forward to all of that here. By clearing the A Duo of Sun and Moon Sword Oratoria event, we will be getting a Sun and Moon, so this event 4-star guaranteed 11 draw ticket, along with 200 iris for completing the very hard missions of the event. So the banner split for the units is as follows, and we will take this into the account when I'm talking about the units and whether or not it's worth pulling for them. So Aisha and Tiona are in the same banner, and then Haruhima and Tione are in the other banner, and then here you have a look at the new Fia Harpy unit, which we will also look at the skills for because it has been data mined and leaked. So we can look at that. And also, I'm not sure if this is included in the news video, but we're also going to have a 4-star choosing banner. Basically, I'm not sure how to call this exactly, but it's you can choose 2 adventurers and 1 assist unit that you want to have as guaranteed units in the banner, and it is only for paid iris, so you might not have access to this or might not want to summon for this. Like, I will not be summoning on this, and yeah. So by continuing, if we continue, we have the first unit, which is the Tiona, and she is an AoE strength dark unit. Her essay is an ultra high dark physical attack with high critical rate and temporary great strength boost, and she does guard rate and counter rate minus 60%. Now, I don't know how much this is actually going to be useful because she is meant as a wargame unit, and these effects are they're good, of course, and the numbers on them are high, like minus 60%, but I don't see them like making or breaking teams, making or breaking matchups. So yeah, her skill 1 is a fast, high dark physical attack with temporary strength boost, and it does heal minus 30% for the enemies, and then it increases the counter rate for the allies. Her skill 2 is a fast strength and magic debuff and a dark resistance debuff, so she is more so like she's meant more so as a stalling unit of some sorts. But also decreases the dark resistance, so maybe other dark units like the Tione will be able to hit harder, so we can keep that in mind. And then she also does have a single target ability which does decent damage, but of course none of these usually hit for like a huge number for the AoE focused units. The notable passives are counter damage plus 60%, if this is correct. Usually we've had 50%, so this is a step they are taking towards making units stronger, I suppose. This is decently important. If she would be used in something like a Familiar Rush, which would imply that the next Familiar Rush would be Ogre Killer potentially, because these adventurers from these 2 banners do have Ogre Killer, so we might see Ogre Killer Familiar Rush in the near future. But the next thing on the menu is the Familiar Wargame, as I will show you in the schedule up ahead. The next unit is the Tione, which is also a strength, so physical dark AoE unit meant for wargame. Her essay is a hard-hitting attack with temporary strength boost, and it removes all buffs, excluding assist skills. Her skill 1 is a super dark physical attack with ultra and counter rate, and it gains 2 additional actions, which are just low-hitting dark physical attacks, and they also decrease the status buffs by 1 turn. Her skill 2 is a fast, high dark physical attack, and it buffs all of your allies' strength and dark damage by 35% for 3 turns. And then she also, like Tiona, has a single target attack that does decent but not very insane damage. Her passives are an Ogre Killer, and on counter, that's the big one, the big change that she has, or a big part of her, is that on counter she reduces the foe's status buff by 1 turn, which could theoretically mess some units up and have them not deal a lot of damage. But on something like PvE or Record Buster, this just makes her deal a lot less damage, especially with the fact that she has non-elemental counters. So her counters are basically not going to be dealing any damage for any PvE modes and for potentially Record Buster, so it makes her practically unusable there, and it only makes her useful in Wargame. For the Wargame, the removing all buffs is a good part of... I mean, it's a good part of a special attack, because if she goes faster, speaking of her agility, it's 1140, so it's pretty high, and she might end up going faster than some other units, but not guaranteed, because there's no... I'm assuming you would use both of Tione and Tiona at the same time, and you don't really have an agility buff on any of the 2 units, so it's not guaranteed that she would go first in a special attack battle. And then the status buffs are useful and not useful depending on how the turns work out. So these 2 units, I see them having some use, and I see some people trying them out and maybe making something work in Wargame with them, but I don't feel as though they are meta changing or anything of the sorts. Now the next unit that we will be looking at is actually Haruhima, and she is an adventurer that is a magical wind type. She is single target, so she's meant for Record Buster and also potentially PvE with Familiar Rush. She does also have Ogre Killer, so the Familiar Rush, if it happens, will probably be Ogre Killer, and we might get some units in the future that also have this. We might get another sets of banners with this. Maybe the Halloween ones, I'm not sure, because these are not the Halloween ones. So we were kind of expecting some news about the Halloween units, but we're not really seeing it here. So we will see if we do get those. Speaking of news about things, the next week will not have a news live stream, so maybe those Halloween units would get revealed 2 weeks from now, which is, to be honest, a little bit late for Halloween, as Halloween is happening this week. So it's a little bit... I'm assuming it's because of the COVID situation, but they are basically delayed. Everything is delayed by a couple of weeks or a month, and it's probably not the best thing they could do, other than the anime banners, which are actually coming out on time. So that's something. But yeah, if we look at the Haruhima, she has an essay which has plus 40% per each self magic and wind damage buff. So this does work out to 160% total if you count both the adventurer buffs and the assist buffs that you can have on her. And it does mean that she is hitting as much as all of the other high hitting special attacks, because those usually have 160% total increase. So she should be hitting a lot with the essay, and then she also has remove strength and magic buffs, excluding assist skills, so she is like something like Reveria or the Velf in that regard, and can be used versus Finn Record Buster, for example, on turns 4 and 8, so that's a good part. Her skill 1 is a 4-turn self magic and wind buff for 60%, and it also buffs the counter rate and critical rate of the allies. This is reminiscent of the OG Haruhima, actually, where she does counter rate and penetration rate, so maybe by using those two in tandem, you're able to have all the free buffs there if it does work out. The skill 2 is a fast, high wind magical attack with high crit rate, and then it has single target resistance minus 20% and magic and wind resistance minus 35% for 1 turn, so this does need to be extended. Excuse me, I'm having hiccups. By something like the OG Haruhima, if you are using this, or you want to use it every turn, but it's really much better if you extend this. So like when you first do this ability, have something like the Haruhima skill 3, you also got at the same time, and that should have you keep all of these debuffs. And then her skill 3, which will, in my opinion, make or break whether or not this unit is just a good support unit with all of the debuffs on skill 2, or actually a good damage dealer as well, because her skill 3 is a mid, which is not very high as a modifier for a single target attack, wind magic attack, but then we do have the skill damage increases the less your mana points are, which means that, well, I'm assuming it's gonna be something like the Oratoria from Anniversary, where his counters dealt more if he had less HP, but I have no idea because we haven't seen this before, so I don't know how much this will actually increase her damage. And then she does have this regen 100% mana points, so every time she uses this skill, she gets all of her mana back. And depending on the mana cost of this is like you don't really want to spam this in this case, because her skill damage increases when her MP is low, but the skill itself regens 100% of the mana, so it's not necessarily a skill that you want to spam each and every turn. Maybe we're gonna see multiple skills 2 and then a skill 3 once every so often, because the skill 2 does have high mana cost as far as I'm aware. The other abilities she has are counters, which are wind elemental, and they have counter damage plus 50%, and then crit and pen damage plus 15%. So those are all the good free passives that you need for PvE single target units to be useful. And then she does have the Ogre Killer as well for the Familiar Rush. The last unit from the 2 banners is the Aisha, which has a self-strength, agility, and dexterity buff plus 20%, similarly to the Takemikazuchi from the winter event. And then she also increases the allies' strength, agility, and dexterity by 10%. This actually isn't as useful outside of maybe for Wargame or the 10% agility buff, because similar to this, she's kind of an upgrade for the Artemis assist, which is occasionally useful in something like an Earth Record Buster, where she has a self 20% buff and a allies 15% strength buff, so she is probably better than that for the single unit that does have her equipped, because she does have a high strength stat, but it's not really that much of an upgrade. And the allies buff, quite frankly, especially if you have Finn in the composition that already gives these buffs, isn't really very good. So I personally don't really like her, and people haven't been saying very good things about her. Let's go through the other parts of the news. So we also have a login bonus, which gives just 70 iris, not very many, some potatoes, some valleys, and 2 tickets. So I'm not really sure why they're giving us weak login bonuses like this, but that's what we have. We do get a Finn Record Buster, which does make sense, especially if it does have wind weakness. So Haruhima might be like the best unit for this Record Buster along with other wind units. So I'm expecting a wind resistance down. And then the best part about this, actually the entire news section, despite the fact that we haven't looked at the new anime unit yet, is the free 11 draw gacha every day. And the units that are on the screen are the new 4 units from the anime that have been released so far, and this does imply that we could perhaps get more copies of Lid. I personally need one copy of Lid, and I haven't got a copy of the new Harpy, so if I can get a copy of each of those 2 units from these 16 pulls, I would be extremely satisfied and happy. I'm not sure what the pool on this draws will be, whether or not it will include all the other standard units or not. That's what we'll have to see, but I'm assuming these 4 units will have an increased rate, and then we could actually see this repeat after another 4 weeks or another 4 episodes, and then at the end of the anime as well. So we could have 2 more sets of banners like these, so it could be important to maybe not spend resources on those anime units, because you could get more copies from these units, from these banners, I mean from the free draws. And the 16 free draws is actually like really good, especially if it does focus on certain units. Wargame is next on the line, so you can see that it happens on the 4th of November. Had to look at the month, and then everything else is here. So this is on Friday. We also get the episode 5 present and the anime gacha, so the new unit, which I will show you in a moment, and the free 11 draw, and then we have the side stories as well and some other things. Iris combo with another item. This is a paid banner thingy. So the last thing that we do have to look at is the new Harpy unit, which I can show you right here. So her name is Fia. She's a new Harpy that already appeared in the anime if you are watching it. And her skills are as follows, if I can find her. So her special attack is an ultra high wind magical attack with ultra on-guard rate and temporary magic boost, and then she has a wind resistance minus 60% for 1 turn, which is higher than what we usually see. Usually we see the 50% on essays like these. Her skill 1 is a fast magic and agility buff for 40%, and it removes strength and magic debuffs from the allies. Her skill 2 is a fast wind magic attack with ultra on-guard rate, magical resist and wind resistance minus 30%. And then skill 3 is an ultra wind magic attack with ultra on guard rate temporary great magic boost. So this could potentially hit decently hard, but yeah, we don't know what the passives on it are, because this was just a leak, and maybe something could be changed theoretically, but I expect this to be exactly what it says right here. And in this case, she is basically a magic version of the Finn from Anniversary, other than the fact that she has a 30% debuff for wind resistance instead of a 40% one. So she is, I would say, based on the fact that her essay is better and her skill 1 has this additional effect, I would say that she's on par with the Finn, but is just a magic version of him. So she is useful, but I wouldn't really go out of my way to MLB her, especially because she's probably meant as a wargame unit right here. So yeah, that's my thoughts on her. So out of the 5 units that we're seeing, the best ones are probably Haruhima is likely the best one, and then the next one potentially with uses is the Aisha, but I personally can't justify doing 10 pulls on each of the 2 banners, so I'll see if I even end up doing the 10 pulls on Haruhima banner. I might end up doing that, but I'm not sure, because my iris is currently 404 error, iris not found. It's actually exactly that. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like and a subscription on YouTube, and that will be it for this one. Bye bye.